Smart 24, driving business.
How are you doing today? How are you doing on Tuesday? As we are waiting for the month of November to come to an end, I think it's only a day to go, which is tomorrow. By Thursday, we shall into the month of December. How are you doing? It is the second hour of your daily Kickstarter. This is Smart Business. I'm Joram Paul Sonko. And of course, the first segment was clearly taking you through the news recap of what was happening in yesterday's previous bulletin. And of course, wherever you are and wherever you're catching up this show, thank you very much. We make sure that we give you all the details regarding business every single day. And those are some of the things that you definitely need to be keeping up with in regards to the business. But of course, as you kickstart off your day wherever you are, good morning Uganda, habari ya leo. How are you doing, Mwasuze Mtia? And let me hope that the day is actually kick-starting off well for most of you. Probably, if we are to look back at some of those things that have been making headlines across the business world, there are lots of many. And if we were to look closely to those that are targeting the Ugandan space, then also those are quite higher than the rest. But just a simple breakdown of what we do have for you in today's show, if you want to keep up to speed with what we have. Definitely, I'm going to be taking you through the news updates. That also includes the press review in that regard, but also looking slowly at the Forex review and the markets review. Later on, we will be looking at the traffic updates in the second hour still here, shortly before 7:30, and then later we shall be crossing over to take a look at what is making headlines across the East African region with Karibu East Africa. Not only that, we do have the SMB International News, where we look at the scope of what is making headlines away from the continent or away from the region of East Africa. But besides that, we do have more of the motivation hour, and we do have the social media trends to look at what trends have been making headlines into the world of business. Well, to take you through as well, we shall be having the developing big story that you should be very anticipated to watch in tonight's bulletin, that is Business Today. Then later on we have business economics and the entertainment business that will be coming up in the third hour of the show. The fourth hour of the show clearly ends up with the business insight, and of course also looking at the SMB on ground. Bigger discussions today on the show. Thank you very much for kickstarting your Tuesday morning with us. How do we do this now? Let's get into some of these particular updates this morning before we go through the market reviews. Now, starting with the top update here, President Yoweri Museveni has apparently said that illegal guns are causing insecurity in Eastern Congo. This is one of our business updates as we kickstart off our day today. Now, briefly, as we can take you through what has been happening throughout this entire situation, because there's been a lot of insecurity ongoing in the region of Democratic Republic of Congo. And as a matter of fact, when President Yoweri Museveni did meet with the East African community leaders, that was a virtual meeting. We get to understand more of what happened during this particular meetup, and that is what we're going to be looking at steadily. And I'll be asking my producer to give us some of the key footage of what was happening during the meeting of President Yoweri Museveni at the virtual summit, where he was addressing East African community member states leaders. Now, with the issue here, a statement that was released is that illegal guns were causing insecurity in Eastern Congo, according to President Museveni. Now, President Yoweri Museveni believes that the insecurity in the Eastern Republic of Congo is one of the reasons as to why it is actually happening. Well, for the last few weeks, of course, Democratic Republic of Congo has been facing some of those particular challenges in that particular aspect of business and all that. And this is one of the reasons as to why the leaders decided to meet and to discuss more of how they're going to be mitigating some of the challenges that they are facing. Now, also on the other hand, when you look at this, while addressing leaders of the East African community virtually, this was during the East African community-led Nairobi process on restoration of Congo, And the third inter-Congolese dialogue that took place in in Nairobi, Kenya. General Yoweri Museveni informed fellow leaders that many illegal guns are still in the hands of foreign and local armed groups, unindependent to lasting peace in the eastern part of the DRC and the entire region. Now, the main problem are the illegal guns in Congo. These particular legal guns have been there almost continuously since Congo's independence. Now, His Excellency Yoweri Museveni did say, adding that the guns currently being held by foreign armed groups like the Allied Democratic Forces, ADF, from Uganda. Now, the Interahamwe of Rwanda is one of those particular groups from Burundi and Angola. Then there are also others, plus the international Congolese groups such as the Codeco, M23, Mai Mai, and others have all these years been killing Congolese and disturbing their neighbors. Now, also on the other hand, speaking from experience, President Museveni noted that the internal groups of Congo that came from the weakening of the state authority of that area, that is the eastern DRC, for a prolonged period can be handled by combining the political methods, that is to say dialogue and its necessary military approach. Now, most of these particular reasons behind the inter-Congolese dialogue, which is set to run to 3rd December and involve consultation amongst the armed groups in eastern DRC, will also include local community leaders, civil society, and other relevant stakeholders, with the aim of finding sustainable solutions to the security situations within the country. So as we slowly look at what is making headlines from the different world, you get to realize that business had been halted due to insecurity in the DRC. The DRC is apparently having more of the different markets to provide to the East African Community member states, with millions of markets available in there, with the population in the DRC, providing a very huge scope for any business community in Congo. So that means there's a lot of chances that Ugandans can benefit from this one, and President Yoweri Museveni did call for security to be upgraded in there. That is something that has been top tier ever since President Yoweri Museveni took power in Uganda 1986, to ensure that the security levels in the country are quite high and they are sustainable for as long as business is to prevail. Well, besides that, away from the Smb update, now let's get into the press review this morning. All right, now with the press review this morning, we do have the Daily Monitor and the New Vision to take you through what is making headlines from there, as the Daily Monitor has highlighted that government has failed to recover 129 billion Ugandan shillings, which is a youth fund cash. That is another big report, as among the others is the Lord Mayor Lukwago's 6 interim market committees, as yesterday when he was meeting with the top officials and city councils, was to convene on special meetings to pass resolutions on the establishment of the new market leadership. Well, of course, public markets within the Kampala City Authority are facing some of those particular challenges, one of which is leadership wrangles, and of course this is something that Kampala City Council Authority intends to regulate if at all they want to see the city develop and grow bigger. So this is one of the reasons as to why this is coming in at this particular time. Now, also on the other hand, as we continue to look at the Daily Monitor this morning, is that the government has blamed Kwoyelo delayed trial on the funding gaps. That and more is also still in the Daily Monitor this morning. That is another big situation. Now, also in the Prosper magazine, there is a detail regarding how Uganda loses millions over wrong import and export prices. You can have more of that particular one in the Daily Monitor as well. Now, also the update that we kick-started off with is that President Museveni rallied the East African community against Congo rebels. That is another report here coming in from the Daily Monitor, as he did say that if you're to look at the armed rebels destabilizing Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, they can all be defeated, and in a way with a united regional military assault, which is adding that the problem of insecurity in Congo stems from post-independence accumulation of illegal guns in private hands as well, if we are to continuously have a look at that. Now, that is courtesy of the Daily Monitor, and you can definitely be getting your part of the business. Also, on the other hand, is the Daily Monitor highlighting that there was a low turnout as border training did kickstart off yesterday. Reason behind the turnout, you can get more of that from what the Daily Monitor has written. As in between the line, the trainers attribute the low turnout to low sensitization of the riders by the responsible authorities within the city, or also responsible authorities that include the stakeholders, which are the border leaders within the capital. And now with the new vision still here, highlighting top of what is making headlines from there. There is a big headline regarding how car buyers lost millions in online deals. This is another big story that you need to pay much attention to, which also includes those into the brokerage of vehicles or the middlemen in vehicles and car sales in the industry here in Uganda. Now, money paid to local agents ranged from 50 million to 100 million, according to what is making headlines here in the new vision. Also, on the other hand, World Food Art Contest winners have been awarded here with the new vision. That and more is also here. Also, on the other hand, there is the report regarding the Chief Justice, Owinyi Dolo, who has blasted the Prime Minister over interference. Interference in what? That it's in the new vision this morning, and you'll be getting more of what is making headlines from there. And it's something that you will definitely want to cop up with if you want to understand what is making more business matters from the courtesy of the print media. There's a lot to be desired. There is quite a lot of big stories coming up inside here, as also the new vision highlighting the fact that illegal guns are fueling up DRC conflict, according to President Yoweri Museveni. So he apparently says we should not accept illegal guns to enter into the DRC because those are making the conflict unbearable. So that is something that we need to look at before we look through how we're going to be getting out of such a situation within the region. You may well understand the fact that with the M23 saga in the DRC, there's a lot of reasons as to why the East African community states are settling at making sure that there's a lot of peace and harmony within the region, or mainly within the DRC, because as a matter of fact, if you want to apparently get in touch with what is happening within a region and making sure that business moves on smoothly, you would wish to have safety of the business community, the individuals that are in there, and that is exactly what the East African community is working upon, harmonizing peace and security within the region to ensure that if any particular trader is moving from Uganda, either from Kenya, Burundi, Rwanda, South Sudan, and they are heading direct to the DRC, they should be assured of security and safety as much as they are getting it in their own country. So that is one of the reasons as to why you need to understand why these particular things are important, and quite important indeed this particular morning. Now, besides that, we are heading onto the streets this morning in regards to the traffic updates and understand what is making how is the traffic flow within the area or within the region of Kampala. So it is something that we need to cop up and see. How ready are you this morning? Before you wake up in the morning or before you leave your living room to go and work, let's get some traffic updates this early morning and see what is making headlines from there, and see how the traffic flow is and how prepared can one be before you use a certain route. Let's get into the traffic updates as it is coming in now. As you can definitely see, that is more at the Nakawa Junction. From there is where you can have more of what is happening from there.
Okay. Traffic lights are off. Traffic officers are coordinating traffic.
Images are coming up from the Nakawa Junction. If you can, if you are ably seeing what is happening from there as well. Literally, most of the traffic lights are off within the city, not only at Nakawa Junction, but also at Ginger Road. So it is the traffic officers who are controlling the flow of the traffic. And as according to what is coming up from this particular one, the cleaning up is still ongoing, but also on the route to Kampala from Chirekabanda, you can easily see that there is a smooth flow of the vehicles that are actually heading to town directly. And then also those who are taking the Mutungo side as well. Also, there's less traffic as of now, though there's some high expectations of getting some huge numbers on the road, or a lot of traffic madness as the minutes keep on pushing harder. But of course, for now, the route heading to Ntinda is also having vehicles that are actually now leaving Ntinda, heading to either town or heading to Mutungo side as well. As you can see, the early birds are already out, ready to warm as early as possible. So that is what is coming in from the Nakawa Junction. Traffic for now, but as far as what is coming up there is that the traffic lights are off for now. It is traffic that is fully controlled by traffic officers. And the more you take a stretch to Ginger Road as well, you'll find out the same situation in most of the areas where the traffic lights are off, and it's the traffic officers who are making sure that the traffic flow moves on where it is. And of course, for the people who are actually now living in areas, those who are living now, those people who are Banda and where you get it, Mukono, Mutungo, you're heading towards Nakawa, or as well in the localities of Ntinda using the same route. So those are some of the things that you clearly need to know. And of course, now when you look at also the border discipline that is active, that you can easily see, some of the few borders normally do not follow the traffic guidelines. This is something that we've been mentioning about as of yesterday, when the Kampala City Council Authority was apparently urging the Ugandans to be very cautious when it comes to how the borders pass through. Now, almost. So clearly, this shows you that the traffic madness sometimes cannot be controlled ably with the borders not keeping their side. And of course, a report that was as well released that the border training showed a very low turn-up, and yet we clearly need to see these borders in there. So we need to see the borders going in to the situation there to clearly follow the guidelines and learn more on the safety rules on how to use the highways. And those who are the vehicles coming in from Tinda have been let go now. They're actually flowing either into the city or the Mutungo areas. So it is something that is coming up this morning from the traffic updates from there. So clearly, as I was telling you about what is happening in the border industry, why you could see that we have a very huge challenge with how the borders respond towards the flow of traffic. Like yesterday, Kampala City Council Authority had released a report that apparently 40 accidents are reported in city mortuaries, and out of those 40 accidents, those are of border. Out of the accidents that are reported, 40 of the dead bodies are brought due to border caused accidents. So as you can see, the borders now, those who are heading to Ntinda and Boyogere, at least now for this particular moment, as the images are coming to you live from the Nakawa Junction, clearly show you that for them they are following a few of the guidelines. But so far, the only good pick we can take from this particular border industry shape up is with the reflector jacket, which is there. And you can clearly see that the reflectors, most of them do have, but then others don't have, which is another issue. And he apparently also doesn't have an element. So these are some of the things that the border industry needs to have if we are to shape it up and clearly see how things continue to move in one way or the other. So those are some of the key things that are coming in from the Nakawa. So as you can see now, the police is actually arresting some of those with no helmet or with no reflector jackets, because those are some of the key things that the border industry is supposed to be having. And those who are under the industry, all the players, the stakeholders, the riders, and of course to enable or ensure safety of movement on the road. Those are some of the key guidelines that the traffic police made sure that they are supposed to be happening. So those are some of the things that we need to be keeping up every single morning. As you wake up in the morning, as you're taking your day out of your home, those are clearly the things that you need to be having at the back of your mind, and to clearly see how things will be moving for you as an individual. So the traffic flow is yet to be that busy, but if you can easily see, the traffic is clearly having many borders on there, but the flow of those who are heading to Bweyogere, Ntinda, heading to Nakawa, rather not Nakawa, heading to Ntinda, heading to Bweyogere, Mukono areas, Chireka, Banda, is apparently the flow is currently moving on swiftly. As of now, we've not yet experienced any huge traffic situation, but later on, maybe in about 30 minutes, you will be experiencing a busy day as you're heading into your workplace. So those are some of the images coming up from the Nakawa Junction in our latest traffic updates. And of course, we are here to make sure that we give you all the details as it happens from wherever you are within Kampala, out of Kampala, into Kenya, Tanzania, and Burundi. And speaking of which, after the break, I'll be right back with Karibu East Africa. And only that, I do have the SMB International News. Make sure you stick around. I'll be right back after the break.